archaeologists in Israel have written a book called Unearthing the Bible. And these two men, these two archaeologists, are the best and the brightest of the archaeologists in Israel. And in their book, basically, that's what they said. There was no Moses, there was no King Solomon, there was no King David. The entire thing was written probably in the 8th, 9th, and 10th century AD in Europe. Developed and ultimately taken, all of that was taken by the Jesuits in the Catholic Church and rewoven into a story and given to us today as an ancient Israel. There was no ancient Israel. Never existed. There was no Moses. There was no King Solomon. Solomon was Sol, Om, On. Sol is Latin for the sun. Om is the Hindu word for the creative force. And On is the name of the sun in Egypt. The Greeks call it Heliopolis, but the Egyptians call the city of the sun On. Go look in a dictionary, look up the word On. It will tell you it's the city of the sun in Egypt. This is why you flip a light switch on, because it was a city of light. So you take Sol, Om, On, the three names of the sun in the ancient esoteric languages, it becomes Sol, Om, On, or Solomon. Even in the ancient Bibles, the old Bibles from the 12th, 13th, and 14th century, in the Bible, it didn't say King David. It kept talking about King Druid. And incidentally, the system of government and laws that we live under today in America and in the Western world is a Druidic system. America is a Druidic country. Canada is Druidic. Like I said, Western civilization is a Druidic establishment. The Druids were a very powerful priesthood in Europe, even before the Roman Empire existed. And they were the attorneys, the lawyers, the religious leaders, the politicians. It was called the Druidic system. And one of the most important symbols in the Druidic system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And orchestra leaders and conductors use a magic wand. That's a Druid symbol. And the Druid symbol of the magic wand was made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And the entire establishment in Hollywood is a Druidic system. So if you don't understand Druidic symbols, you'll never know what's going on in Hollywood and where they're being financed, who's financing them, and how this stuff really works in relation to government. There's an enormous amount of material out on the web showing pictures from motion pictures from 5, 6, 7 years before 2000, before 9/11, in which 9/11 is in motion pictures. And the original film of Matrix, in the original Matrix movie, the star is giving some kind of an affidavit to sign, which is his identification or something. And the camera zooms in on it for just a moment when he's signing it. But if you stop the film, stop it and back it up and zoom in, you will see the document is about something that is going to happen. It says September 11, 2001. And this was way before September 11, before 9/11. Chris Carter, classic example when I'm talking about Hollywood. Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files. When X-Files ended, Chris Carter, the producer, started a whole new television series called The Lone Gunman. And the very first movie was a lead-off movie for the new television series. And in that movie, that came out right around February or March of 2001. February or March of 2001, Chris Carter's new television show called Lone Gunman was started on Fox television. And in the very first episode, it's talking about how factions within the U.S. government were going to fly 757s into the World Trade Center and lock them down purposely. And in the movie, you're seeing the planes going into the World Trade Center. That was back in, 8 months before it even happened. Chris Carter is telling you something in the movie. And in the movie, they ask, well, why are these people in the government doing it? And one of the guys in government said, because we need to control the Middle East, we need to control the oil flow, we need to have a dominant place in the Middle East so that we can promote wars, which is good for business. But that's in a movie, and it shows the planes going into the World Trade Center. General Electric, about 3 or 4 years before 9/11, General Electric came out with a refrigerator in Italy. And on the face of the refrigerator, painted, were 2 jets flying into the World Trade Center. Shows the World Trade Center and 2 big planes flying into them. And I have many, many pictures from Hollywood showing 9/11 jets flying into the World Trade Center. So all I'm saying is that Hollywood knows what's going on. And this whole thing is being orchestrated from behind the scenes to knock down the World Trade Center. I mean, and the day it happened, I became so depressed, I just dropped out of speaking. I no longer toured, I no longer did radio, I no longer talked to anyone, and I've been out of commission for many years because 9/11 just shut me down. As far as I was concerned, I was through with America. I'm through with all of it. Because in any country that can buy 3 high-rises falling down into dust and not ask any questions about that, I just gave up. I thought, you know, yeah. So, because I'm well aware of how governments work, religions work, and banks, and, well, let me give you an example. There are only 2 things on the earth, land and water. People live on land. So the law of the land is the law of people who live on land. That's why it's called the law of the land. But the law of the land is different in every country, because it's the law of the people who live on the land. But you can do things in Russia you can't do in America. You can do things in South Africa, but you can't do in China. So the law of the land is different in every country. But the law of water is the law of money, the cash flow, the liquid asset. And I'll give you an example of how this works. Because when a ship pulls into harbor, it's coming in on water, and it's going to bring products. And so all ships, by law, must be female. This is why you will always hear captains saying that she is a good ship. She is seaworthy, she. Because all ships are female. And the reason why is because she produces the product. And when a ship pulls into harbor, it parks at the dock. And each piece coming off the ship has to have a certificate of manifest. And the ship where it sits is in its berth. So when you were born, you came out of your mother's water. So you have to have a birth certificate. And it's signed by the dock. And if you drop the car or the television, it's a stillborn, so you have to have a death certificate. So your body, as a matter of fact, your body is a security on the New York Stock Exchange. If you take your Social Security card, and I'm not going to talk much more about this because there are other things I want to talk about, but this I think is interesting. If you take your Social Security card, and on the back of a Social Security card, you will see a series of numbers. And those numbers on mine are in red. And those numbers on the back of the Social Security card represent your physical body on the stock exchange in New York. And if you take a bill, any kind of an American bill, whatever it is, 10, 20, 100, 1, whatever it is, you will see a series of numbers here, code numbers on the bill. You match the numbers on the bill with the back of the Social Security card. It's because there's about $6.5 million or more circulating around the world with your Social Security number on the bill. Because your body is a security on the New York Stock Exchange. They are buying and selling your personal body on the stock exchange in New York. And most people don't understand any of this and have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's the way banks work. And so I have discovered also that banks and government are basic